Lianna is the host. There it is.
Yes, welcome. Today is an event for women who go East Bay, breaking into tech, women's study of success, with collaboration of YWCA, eliminating racism, empowering women in Berkeley, Oakland. So for today, will be start with the code of conduct, the first thing that we need to have in mind. The code of conduct is really important. As a women who code is an inclusive community dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone who participates in or support our community, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, ability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, socioeconomic status, caste, creed, political affiliation, or preferred programming language. We don't allow harassment. We don't allow neither even a few things that we are not empowering the experience. So in a single way is don't be a asshole person. Media consent. We are taking photos, we are taking images. So every person who don't feel comfortable and where we need to take photos, please try to notice us about that. Please let us know about that you don't want a photo. What is the mission of Women Who Code? We empower diverse women to excel in technology careers. This is our mission, and our vision is a tech industry where diverse women and historical school people thrive at every level. So why not? Every people needs their space and voice. We are an amount of people and amazing girls in the community. We are in several countries from north to south, and these are our team, the base and East Bay, our volunteers. If you want to be a volunteer, scan the QR and you can be a volunteer. Don't miss the opportunity. I will wait a little moment here in a way if you want to scan. Oh my God. What is the format of the event today? We start with the presentation, the welcoming, and we start to, in 2 minutes, more or less, we will start to speak about the tech labs. And after that, we will follow for a amazing talk about from physician to developer, my career change journey by Alfonsina, and we continue with other amazing talk that is my journey with working with monkeys to software engineering by Lianna. And we have a few minutes to closing the event. So we start with eliminating racism, empowering women. We want to say hello to Lianna.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I will start to stop the screen in a way that you can project your screen.
Okay, perfect. Let me just share my screen. Okay. Are you guys able to see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right. So firstly, I'd like to thank Women Who Code for having us and for collaborating with us on this event. But My name is Jenna Kim, and I am the program coordinator for YW Tech Lab, which is a program under the YWCA Berkeley, Oakland. And so I'll talk a little bit about our program, how this program might be a good fit for you. And at the end, I'll send out a link to the application if you guys are interested in joining our program. All right, so first I'm just going to talk about give you guys a little bit of statistics and a little background on like why we initially started the YWCA or this tech lab program specifically. So according to a 2019 study between 2007 and 2020, women occupied about 25% of the computing related roles. White women made up about 13% of these groups, API women made up about 7% of these groups, and Black women made up Black and Hispanic and Latino women made up about 2 to 3%. Today, women still only represent about 27% of the STEM workforce, and along with gender bias and systemic racism, minorities of color are more likely to have less access to tech education, leading to underrepresentation in the tech force. So what the YW Tech Lab aims to do is empower those who don't have immediate access to this tech education to pursue a traditionally inaccessible field. In addition to this, underrepresented minorities and our women are less likely to receive promotion, making it harder for women to advance in their career. This also means that minorities are more likely to get laid off due to systemically being placed into lower ranking positions. Also, another 2012 study show that men are twice as likely as women to be hired for a job in mathematics, when the only difference between the two candidates is gender. And in higher education, a 2012 study noted that men comprise at least 70% of the graduates in engineering, mathematics, and computer science, while women tend to dominate the lower paying fields. So I say all this not to discourage anyone or to kind of dishearten anyone, but just giving space to acknowledge that the barriers that underrepresented minorities and women face when trying to enter and succeed in the tech industry. We are at an inherent disadvantage, and with programs like Women Who Code, Tech Lab, and a bunch of different organizations, we can work to combat these disparities, eliminate these systemic barriers, and get more people who are passionate about coding into the tech industry. So, next slide. Oh, sorry. What is YW Tech Lab? So YW Tech Lab is a completely free asynchronous course that covers the basics of web development. This course is self-paced and should take about 10 weeks to complete. YW Tech Lab is targeted towards underrepresented minorities in tech. And so a lot of our programming is targeted towards women and targeted towards underrepresented minorities and providing them with the resources they might need to succeed within the tech field. So why YWCA Tech Lab? So there's kind of three reasons why YWCA Tech Lab might be a good fit for you. First of all, it's completely free. It focuses on HTML, JavaScript, R, and CSS, which are all languages that are really helpful for web development. So if you, any of you are interested into kind of going into the world of web development or just want to learn some baseline coding skills, these are very good beginner programming languages to learn. And so this is a 10-week course that will kind of cover all of these. And then I'll go over like the course timeline in more depth in the next slide. If you're looking just to like put your foot in the door for tech to see if tech might be a good fit for you, YW Tech Lab is also a good resource for you. If you, a lot of the women here who are speaking about like kind of their career change, if that's kind of a path that you're looking for, you can use YW Tech Lab to see if tech is a good fit for you. And along with that, YW Tech Lab is more than just an online course. It offers an abundant amount of resources, including one-on-one tutoring, external job and finding resources, guest speakers, and access to a network of diverse people. So throughout the cohort, it's not just the online course that we're providing, but we're also planning to have events. We do one-on-one check-ins every week. And it's just creating a community of people who are kind of looking to go into the tech industry, who might not have the resources to. All right, I'm gonna go into a little bit of the timeline. So I say it's about a 10-week course. The actual curriculum can be completed within 8 weeks or even shorter. As I mentioned before, it's completely self-paced, so you can take as long as you want. But most of the time it should take about 10 weeks to complete. The first week, we're going to be going over HTML. And so for each module, there's sort of videos, activities to go through, and at the end, there's like a small little quiz for you to fill out. But as I mentioned, everything's completely online, asynchronous. So first week, we're going to go over HTML. Second week, we're going to go over CSS. And the third week, we're going to go over the challenge project, in which you're going to create a product landing page using HTML and CSS. For the fourth week, we're going to then go into JavaScript. Oh, so HTML and CSS are both languages for website building. And HTML is the website structure building, and CSS is for like design. Then with all those knowledge, you're going to create the challenge project. Then you're going to go into JavaScript. So JavaScript is what allows you to kind of make your web pages more interactive. And then for week 5, you're going to go over how to make a portfolio. So you're going to learn how to use GitHub, how to navigate GitHub, and how to start building your digital portfolio. And then for the week 6, we're going to learn more about JavaScript and kind of dive deeper into JavaScript. And then for week 3, we're going to learn about React, which is a language that helps you start developing web apps. And for the week 8, you're going to kind of take all those things that you learned together and do the capstone project, which is building a character in the programming language of React. So that's all like the course content for each week. Okay, so YWCA Tech Lab, completely online. The way that we push our material is through Google Classroom. So if you do decide to join YWCA Tech Lab, you're going to get an invitation to our Google Classroom. And as you can see here, we have a module. So there's the first introduction module. It'll talk about the course. And then for each individual module, you're going to, like for HTML, as you can see, it starts with the video, and then it goes into different activities that you can do to complete the module. Yeah, so I'm just going to dive deeper into a little bit about what I was talking about before. YWCA Tech Lab also provides an abundant amount of resources. It's more than just an online course. We know the course can be difficult to navigate, and so we do provide free tutoring. So any week that you're taking the course, you can sign up for free tutoring, and you just sign up on the Calendly link, and then we have tutors provided for you anytime that you need help throughout the course. This is all completely free. Along with that, we also have one-on-one check-ins. So throughout the semester, a staff member or me will be checking in with you, making sure like you're able to complete the course, or if you have any other type of needs that need to be met, we're going to be working with you throughout the whole time you're completing the course. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have other speakers and events, networking events and things like that, so that not only are you able to meet people who are in the industry and maybe create connections that can be valuable to your career, but also meet other women or other underrepresented minorities in the tech field who are also looking to start in the tech industry. Along with that, there's a connection to bigger organizations. So obviously right now we're collaborating with Women Who Code, but we also plan on collaborating with a bunch of other organizations as well. And so what we think of YWCA Tech Lab as kind of a launching off point for you, and providing you with a bunch of resources and organizations who might best help you. So for YWCA Tech Lab, at the end of YWCA Tech Lab, we hope that you are able to complete the course. Obviously, it's going to be self-paced, so it's going to be at your own time, but most likely you'll be completing the course within 10 weeks. At the end, you'll get a certificate of completion. You'll be able to code your first ever website. So for the last capstone project, you're coding a calculator that is like completely from scratch on your own. You can start building your online portfolio, and you gain the skills you need to start building your own websites and start creating things on your own. And then along with that, one of the most important things is, I think, within like jumping into the field of tech is networking and getting to know other women or other people in the community who are also looking, who are also interested and passionate about things that you all might be passionate about. But YWCA Tech Lab is extremely cohort oriented, so we send out surveys and weekly check-ins, and we do our best to gear the material and the resources that we're providing out to you towards the participants in the cohort. So every week I'm going to be sending you an email with like helpful resources, job listings, a bunch of resources that can be provided to you for not only for you to help finish the course, but also to help navigate your way through the tech industry. Okay, so this is the link to the application. I'll also send a link in the chat if you guys need it. And then, but yeah, YW Tech Lab is nowhere near a comprehensive course. We like to think YW Tech Lab as a launching off point for your career. Throughout this course, we not only hope you gain beginner technical skills, but also learn and grow with other women and underrepresented minorities who are looking to pursue tech. But yeah, I'll leave the screen up just for a little bit if you guys want to scan the QR code. And then I'll also put my email in the chat. If you guys have any questions, you can always email me. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great initiative. I think that the impact that has these initiatives are really huge. So thank you for presenting, and thank you for sharing with us this information. It's really appreciated.
Yep, thank you for having me.
It looks like the QR code wasn't working. Jenna, could you drop the application link in the Zoom chat?
Okay, yeah, I'll for sure send the link right now and along with my email.
Thank you.
So in the meanwhile, I want to present our next speaker. And she's Alfonsina, and she was a doctor. And she today will be speaking about from physician to developer, my career change journey. So welcome, Alfonsina.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Should be this one. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
It's loading.
Oh, wait, I have an
Yeah,
issue.
we are seeing a screen in white.
Yeah, I apparently have an issue sharing. Let me check. Sometimes my PC does this. I don't know why. But when I try to share my screen, it goes all black. Let me try again. Let me try sharing again. If not, I can quickly reboot my PC. Screen, and it only happens with Zoom. I don't know why.
No.
Yeah, it's doing it again. Can you let me like, I don't know, 5 minutes to reboot my laptop?
Or do you have like the link to the presentation we could present for you?
Oh yeah, that could work too. Let me share it here. Give me a minute.
We have in the chat the link for the initiative from YWCA. Don't lose the opportunity to send an email and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us in our social media.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna share the presentation here. See if you can present it then, and I'll tell you when to pass to the next slide.
Okay, that is right. I will slideshow and I will present the screen.
Great.
We can have like a mimic like a okay.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
Something else.
There we
Oh,
go.
and let me change the distribution. Can you see the screen?
Yes, but I can see you and the screen and the slide.
I will change that. Meeting info. Oh, there it was. How can I change this? I am a little boomer with the technology sometimes.
Don't worry.
I am learning. I am learning.
Yeah, it happens to all of us.
Screen. I changed in a few minutes ago and I forgot. So, in the stop structure, I will create again.
Okay.
Captions, view, here. And that is in the and summary captions. Window. And everyone start share.
I can also share.
Yeah, it's loading. Can't see it yet.
Oh yeah, you can.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. I'll say
Yeah.
next slide or do like this, so you can please change it. So yeah, thanks, Pillippa, for the presentation, the introduction. Sorry for the technical issues. Well, like Pillippa said, my name is Alfonsina Lizardo. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my story changing careers from physician to developer. Next slide, please. So first, a little bit about myself. I'm a Venezuelan. I live in Chile since 2017. I graduated as a general physician in 2012 and then decided to change careers to software development in, well, probably like in 2017, but the official date, let's say it like that, was on 2019. As of now, I work as a front-end tech lead at a company called Axis, and I love participating in lots of community. I'm a collaborator in several of them, like JavaScript Chile, Mermelada Tech, and WTM or Women Tech Maker Chile. And among my hobbies, well, I love playing video games. I always have, watching TV shows, movies, anime, and I love traveling as well. Next slide. A little bit about the content of what I'm going to talk about. First, my career change decision. I mean, what led to that. Then how the process was, the transition process was for me. A little bit of what I learned, or the lessons or things I learned from the process. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the resources I used to study when I began this career change, and some of them I still do. I still use them. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about other careers in technology because it's not all about programming. So let's begin with my career change transition. Please, the next slide. And the next, sorry. So first, my motivation to study medicine. Well, the truth is, I don't really remember. Since I was a child, I always wanted to be a doctor. I don't remember like the point where I started with that idea. It wasn't because of my parents, because both of them are teachers. No one in my family is a doctor. Really, I'm the first one. Um, Even though I don't really remember the reason, I do know that I've always loved to study. I'm a nerd. I love to study. And I always enjoy teaching and motivating others. So maybe this motivation to help was what led me maybe to become a doctor. I don't really know. But the thing is that when I was with making this decision when going into college, Most people told me or asked me like, "Are you sure you want to be a doctor? You're gonna have to study all your life." And I was like, "Sure, I don't mind. I love studying." So that wasn't really something that made me reconsider my decision. But when I was in the fourth year of my career in Venezuela, medicine is a 6-year career. I started questioning my decision because of other reasons, such as inflexible work hours. I had to do shifts, 12 hours, 24-hour shifts, sometimes more, um, which left me very few time to share with my family and friends. Actually, sometimes I had shifts on important dates. I don't know, my mom's birthday or something like that, and I missed some of those dates because I had to work. And also, after I graduated and I started working as a doctor, I lived like that little image. I always had anxiety. I was so stressed because I mean, people's life were on my hands, and that felt like, well, it is a lot of responsibility, and it made me feel really stressed. So I came to the point that I said like, I don't want to live like this the rest of my life. I think I made the wrong choice. But like I said, I worked for a few years, and then I decided I don't want to live like this. Please, the next slide. Uh, I think the next one. So my transition process began. Um, and since I was a child, I always was interested in technology and computers as well. This was also because of my parents, because they said that technology was the future, and well, they weren't wrong, I think. um, well, in my mind, technology was equal to coding or programming. So I started researching about how to start studying programming. And when I started doing that research, I felt like that meme over there because there was a lot of resource, so many resources, so many programming language. I didn't know where to start. I found resources about C++, C Sharp, Java, JavaScript, Python, Django, and so on. In the end, I decided to start with a book I found online called Introduction to Programming, and I think it was with C++ or C Sharp. I don't quite remember. But even though I tried my best to understand everything, I mean, what I was reading, the truth is I didn't understand a thing. So I became a little discouraged because of that. And I started considering other options at that time. Next slide. But then, after a few months of maybe trying other things and not being successful because I didn't enjoy them either way, I met my husband playing World of Warcraft. And casually, he was also studying, I mean, he was studying to become a computer technician in Venezuela. And when we started getting a little closer, he told me he was studying web development topics at that time, and he was good in PHP and databases, but not so much on the visual parts of the site, right? To make it look pretty. And then that was when I discovered front-end development. And because I wanted to help him, and I saw this like another chance or another opportunity to try to study programming. Um, I started doing some courses on Udemy about HTML, CSS, and I loved it. I think that was the point where I fell in love with front-end development. I loved like starting with a blank Canva, I mean the browser all blank, and then little by little building something from scratch. So I did some Udemy courses. I built some pages with just HTML and CSS, and I was super excited. And then I tried to start studying JavaScript, and that's when I hit a wall again, because even though I understood the basics, I didn't quite understand how to take that to a web page and do things with that. So, well, again, I had to, next slide, I had to make a pause on my learning either way, because that's when I migrated to Chile with my husband and my mother. And at first, I worked a lot, not as a doctor, but as another thing. Um, I didn't have much time to study, so I had to make a pause there. But then, when we were a little more stable here in Chile, I started studying again on my own. But then I also discovered boot camps. I mean, they the boot camps didn't exist in Venezuela, or not that I know of. So it was a new thing for me. I didn't know they existed, and I did some research on some of them, like the ones on the picture, the Sofia Latam, For Geeks Academy, Laboratoria. Those are all boot camps here in Chile. Um, and then I had the choice. I mean, after, like I said, when we were a little more stable, we had some savings. I had the choice of entering that bootcamp, one of those bootcamps, or revalidating my medical degree here in Chile, because they cost the same. I mean, to revalidate my degree, I had to take a test, and to take a test, that test I had to pay, and it was the same amount that I had to pay to enter a bootcamp. So I talked with my husband, my family, and friends. Well, my close family mostly, to so that they could help me make this decision. Well, my husband just asked me, "What do you want to do? Do you want to practice as a doctor again, or do you want to go?" Well, the answer was clear in my mind. Actually, I wanted to go. I didn't want to be a doctor again. I don't want to practice medicine again. So the choice was made. Next slide. Um, I decided to sign up for the Desafío Latam bootcamp because, well, among other reasons, it was the one that I could pay at that moment. It was quite intense. I didn't know what I was getting into, actually. It was really intense and demanding. I felt like I was back in college because, I mean, I had my job. I had two jobs at that time, and also I was studying now on the bootcamp. We had classes twice a week. They weren't really classes. It was more like we had to watch some videos about the class, and then on the in-person class, we had to ask our questions, our doubts, and the teacher would solve them, and we had to make a project on each class. On each class, it was a different project. So, like I said, it was really intense. But having studied some things on my own, like I said, I did some Udemy courses previously, helped me a lot. So with HTML and CSS, I was okay. I went through that part of the bootcamp really easily. Let's put it like that. And then when I got to JavaScript, well, I didn't learn as much JavaScript as I wanted on that bootcamp, but it helped me either way. Now I had the teachers. I could ask questions to him, to my other fellow students. There were all other tutors that were there to help us. So now I was able to advance. And I also started joining some communities, some programming communities here in Chile, and started going to many events because I wanted to meet more people in the area. I wanted to do networking. Next slide. Then after, well, all actually before finishing the bootcamp, like I don't know, like a month before that, I got my first job as a web designer, web developer, mostly with I only had to do simple pages with HTML and CSS, but I was over the moon. I was super happy because at last I was gonna be able to work at something that I loved. I was offered the opportunity in the bootcamp to work as a teacher's assistant on the same bootcamp that I had been a student before. I also enjoyed that quite a lot because, I mean, teaching is the best way of learning. I mean, I learned a lot by being a teacher assistant at that time. And since I had no previous experience, I found it like a perfect opportunity to keep learning. Since then, since I finished that bootcamp, I really haven't stopped learning. Like I said, I'm a nerd. I love to study. So then I studied JavaScript, more advanced JavaScript, so to speak, also through an Udemy course that a friend recommended. And then I started React with another bootcamp, React Native as well with another bootcamp, and backend development with Express Mongo, also another bootcamp. I mean, I could have learned all of these things maybe with Udemy courses and stuff, but I like the pressure. I like the pressure of having to deliver homework, deliver projects, because it helps me study much harder and more quickly, so to speak. And next slide, please. Okay. Now, what did I learn from all this process? Next slide. I remember when I was still thinking about making this career change, I wasn't sure. I was talking with a friend who is a software engineer, and I told him, I mean, I was like, I'm not sure if I should make this career change. I mean, who's gonna want to hire me? I'm a physician. I don't have anything to do with technology. I don't have any experience with technology, so to speak. At that time, as I was also working as a translator, um, I was, who's gonna want to hire me? I don't have anything to do with tech. And then he said this phrase to me: "Great, I would hire you. How versatile and 100% creative of you." And at the time, I thought he was just telling me this to make me feel good. But when I entered the tech industry, next slide, please. I realized that there are some advantages of having a other career, even if it doesn't have to do anything with tech. First, it shows that you are responsible. I mean, you have responsibility and perseverance to do something till the end. I mean, having a degree or having a career, no matter what it is, it's not easy. It's not easy to finish a college degree, to have a college degree. So you're showing that you have responsibility and that you have that level of perseverance to finish something. Also, if your career has nothing to do with tech, you're showing adaptability, capacity to learn new things, and creativity because you didn't have any idea about coding or any career in tech. You learn, you learn, and you're here. You're trying to enter this industry, so to speak. Also, you can migrate skills from your previous career, even though it doesn't have anything to do with tech, to tech. For example, in my case, um, as a doctor, I had to find a way to explain complex things to my patients in simple terms. And that skill has also helped me as a software developer in case I'm talking to a client who doesn't have my technical knowledge to explain these complex things to him or her. So that's just an example, but there are no, depending on the career you're coming from, I'm sure there's a skill you can migrate for that to a career in tech. Next slide, please. Now, what are some benefits of working in tech? I mean, well, for me, what I what I have found to be a benefit. The first thing is, of course, working in something that I love. When I was working as a doctor, I always was like, oh my God, no, I have to go to work. I don't want to go. I didn't feel comfortable. Now I love it. I mean, of course, I don't like waking up early. That's the only bad thing, but that's with all jobs. But I love my job. I like going working. I like coding. I like doing what I do. In tech, I also found that there's lots of teamwork and willingness to share knowledge. For example, like I'm here right now sharing this knowledge with you. The most of people in tech love to share their knowledge, love to share their experience, and that's great. I mean, I didn't found the medical community is such a given, at least in Venezuela. I don't know in other places, but it wasn't so. There wasn't that much of teamwork, so to speak. Also flexibility. Like I said, as a doctor, I had to work 12 hours, 24-hour shifts. Not here, not not as a programmer, not as a developer. Also, I can work from home, which I love. I still do. Well, technology is almost never ending. As I said, I'm a nerd. I love to study, and in technology, there's always something new to learn, and I love that. And of course, there's also, well, since it's never ending, so big, there's also place for everyone. It's not all about coding, and we're gonna talk a little about that next. Next slide. Now, what are some of the resources that I use to study web development and that may help you as well if you're on the same track? Next slide. Uh, First, we have here there are free and paid resources. First, we have FreeCodeCamp. This is totally free, and you can find lots of things to study here, not just web development. You can go from HTML to even machine learning. I saw recently, and it's not only in English. There's also they've translated it to other languages. I don't know if it's fully translated in all of those languages, but at least you can start with that. Next, we have Screenba, which has free and paid resources, free and paid courses. Sorry. What I like about this site is that their courses are interactive. I mean, you can start watching a video, and then while the instructor is explaining something in code, you can pause it, you can change the code, play with it. see what it does, break it, it doesn't matter, and then you can hit play again, and you get watching the lesson you were watching. So I love that about that site. And we also have Udemy. We have free and paid courses here about everything, not only software development. There's courses about everything. What I recommend here is that you, before you buy a course, check the reviews, check the instructor, Google him, see if it's actually good. Because yeah, there, like I said, there are lots of courses and not all of them are good. That's the bad part here. Next slide. We also have YouTube channels, of course. Just three here. There are so many, but I really like these three. There's Kevin Powell channel. If you want to become a CSS master, this is the channel you have to watch. He has paid and free resources on his website, and what I love about it, his videos, they're relatively short, and he teaches a lot of things about CSS. Really interesting tips, things you can quickly apply. There's also a channel called Web Dev Simplified. He creates front-end and back-end development content. Their videos are also relatively short and concise. And he has, if you're studying React or considering to study React, he has an excellent free React hooks course on this website, which I used actually to understand some of them. There's also a Westbus channel. Mostly he creates JavaScript related content, and I really recommend his free 30 days of JavaScript course because the best way to learn JavaScript is to practice and make projects. So in this course, every day you create a new project with him, and it was really helpful for me. Probably it will be helpful for you as well. And he also has other paid and free courses on his website about React, GraphQL, etc. He has lots of them. Next slide. Now, like I said, it's not all about coding in technology. There are also other careers. Next slide. I'm going to talk about these three, but there are lots of them, but I can talk about all of them here. For example, we have an UX UI designer, which is user experience, user interface designer. If you've ever seen a site and thought like, this is gorgeous, probably there's a very good UX UI designer behind it, because that's their responsibility. They create nice and easy to navigate interfaces, and their goal is to improve the user interaction experience with technology, make it look good and make it simple for the user to use. Next, we have a quality assurance specialist. The responsibility is to test the software to identify defects. There's a joke that says that QA specialists and developers hate each other. I don't know. Maybe in some cases it hasn't been like that for me. I think QA specialists are very necessary, so to speak. And I often work in close collaboration with them. That's the idea, that they work in close collaboration with the development team. Next, we have data scientists, for example, which they use analytic techniques to extract insights from data sets, and they help make decisions based on those data sets, on that data. So if you like numbers, you like statistics or things like that, maybe this could be the path for you. Next slide. Now, some advices, some personal advices. If you're thinking of changing careers to technology, remember, it's not all, well, that's the third advice, but I'm going to say it first. It's not all about coding or programming. There's room for everyone in technology. If you don't like coding, or if you tried it, you saw that it wasn't for you, there are many other things that you could do in technology. Other advice is, if you're thinking about doing it because you love technology, you want to work in that area, then do it. It won't be easy, I'm not gonna lie, but it'll be worth it if you really like it in the end, because like I said, it is awesome to work on something that you love. It's really fulfilling. Another advice is to join communities like Women Who Code, for example, because there's always someone who's willing to help. You're not alone on this journey. So there's always going to be someone that maybe is going through the same situation as you, or already has been in that situation, and they can help you. I'm sure there's always going to be someone willing to help you. Next slide. And that's it for my talk. Thank you very much for listening. And if you would like to connect with me on social media, you can scan that QR and you'll find all my social media there. That would be it.
Awesome. Thank you, Alfonsina. We have a
Thank
question.
you. Yeah.
For example, can relate to this conversation so much. Thank you for sharing. I have questioned that what will I contribute if I don't have a tech background?
Well, like I said, I don't have a tech background. I come from health, from medicine. So, like I said, there's always something that, oh, a skill or a situation. I don't know. There's always something that you can migrate to tech, or that, I mean, every person's experience is unique. So I'm sure there's something that you can bring into tech, maybe not only coding. If you like coding, awesome. But if you don't like coding, there are many other careers, or there are many other areas in tech where you could also try and see if you like.
Alfonsina, thank you. I was the one that posted the question.
Ah,
I actually, like I did, I mean, many of us did research, but I continued that path, after grad school, but I don't have an original tech background. And so like, I've been interested in data scientist roles, but then I questioned myself, right? Like my background is not in tech.
yeah, no, I know what you mean, because I was there in that same situation. But like I said, there are advantages. I mean, and there's always willing to help. In my case, it was this friend who was a software engineer, and he motivated me and told me that you can do it. I would hire you if I could. I mean, it's great. And I'm sure there's someone out there who will think the same about you. So don't feel discouraged if you don't have a background in tech. There are, I mean, I thought my case about making this career change was not common, but after I entered this industry, I found out that there are lots of people who have changed careers that have nothing to do with tech into tech. So it's not as uncommon as you might think. So go for it.
I also have a question, and how do you go about figuring out what specific niche in tech you want to pursue the most? Because I feel like it's so fast that for me personally, one of the biggest challenges that I've come across recently is trying to figure out which of the fields I want to pursue the most.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, technology is really big. I think my best advice would be to try things. I mean, if you feel like a little interested in coding, I mean, even in coding, there are lots of areas. But for example, I don't know, maybe I was, well, I don't know if I was lucky, because I tried at first with some programming language and I didn't understand, and I gave up. Then I started with front end development, and that's when I found that I loved that that part of coding. But if I hadn't tried it, then I wouldn't have known. So maybe if depending on of what you like, if you like numbers, like I said, you could try the data scientist path. If you like design, making things look pretty, but not so much coding, maybe you could try UX and UI. Um, but I mean, you could try things watching video courses on YouTube before paying anything. I mean, that's what I did as well. Because if you pay a really expensive bootcamp of coding and then you don't like it, then you're gonna lose your money. So try things, but free things first. And when you find the thing that you love, then maybe you can decide if you pay for something more advanced, or continue to learn by yourself. You can also do that. I chose to do a bootcamp because, like I said, I like the pressure. I mean, if I don't have that pressure of delivering homeworks, projects, etc., I feel like I don't advance as quickly as I would like. but that's just me. Maybe you can just study by yourself with YouTube videos or Udemy courses, and you can still achieve what you want. And yeah, I mean, YWCA. Sorry, you could also try that that course that was mentioned in the beginning of this presentation. Yeah, there it is.
Thank you so much, Alfonsina. Your insights are really valuable, and I think that is are really inspire. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No problem. Thanks you for the invitation.
You're welcome. Our next speaker is someone who will be working with monkeys. So we are welcoming Lianna Novitz, and with her talk, My Journey Working with Monkeys to Software Engineering.
Thank you, Pili.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Mm, okay. Da, 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 da. I have too many tabs, as usual. Okay, I see. Mm. I've never presented from Canva before, so let me know if it looks weird to you. Share. No problem, Alfonsina. Your presentation was amazing. I'm
Thank you.
floored. Um,
In the meanwhile, you can share your LinkedIn in the chat.
Oh, let me look for it.
mm,
If you have more questions or something, you can contact using the present.
is it full screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Alrighty. If there's any questions in the chat, Pili, could you just like interrupt me while I'm speaking because I can't see the chat.
Yes, I will do it.
Okay. I'm Lianna, and I use pronouns she, hers, and I'm actually currently working as a volunteer for Women Who Code East Bay. But here I will share with you my career journey from when I went to school and how I ended up going into data analytics and then software engineering. And it involves monkeys, so yeah. It's nice to meet you. And here's a little meme of before and after jumping into tech for me. So it was very nerve-wracking trying to dive into my first tech job, but after, I'm very happy. Uh, Alan doesn't want to show himself. Actually, he's over there, but oh. Um, so yeah, my at home I have my two kitties, Wheatley and Remy. As you can see, they're making many biscuits, and they are brothers, which is hard to believe. I live in the Bay Area with my partner Alan, and uh, just a quick overview of some of my values so you can get to know what my background is. I'm big on financial stability. That's partly why I wanted to choose a role in tech. And community is also very important to me. That's why I am dedicating time to volunteer for Women Who Code. And I'm also trying to get more involved with my college alumni community, McAllister. And I'm also, as I'm job hunting, part of the Leopard.fyi community, which helps mid-level engineers and senior engineers, women and non-binary people specifically, to get their next job. And then I also want to shout out Bumble BFF because you might not know Bumble is a dating app, but they also have a friends channel. So when I moved from Los Angeles to the Bay Area about 2 years ago, I ended up using Bumble to make my first set of friends, and I still have some great connections with people today, 2 years later. So highly recommend. And I also want to note that as a white person, I also grew up middle class, and I've had the privilege to explore some creative outlets like language learning, filmmaking, and knitting. But creativity is part of my life, and I love it. So just to highlight a few moments that if you looked at my LinkedIn, for example, you would probably these would be the highlights. So at Macalester College, I declared my major as neuroscience, and about a year later, I got my first internship as a data management intern at the University of Minnesota, and did end up working with monkeys. More on that later. And after graduating, I was able to land my first job as a data analyst at a startup. And then about 3 years later, I was able to get my first job as a software engineer. And last year, I became director for Women Who Code East Bay. But this isn't the whole story or the whole picture. So what you don't see was the reason I chose neuroscience was because it was the first textbook that I could read that I didn't fall asleep while studying. And then as far as that first internship goes, the only reason I even knew about the internship was because my college had hosted an alumni networking event where I met my future supervisor. And then as far as the first data analyst job goes, I wouldn't have gotten an interview unless I had emailed the CTO and kind of presented myself out there and put myself out there. And as far as my first software engineer role goes, I got that through a referral. So I didn't have to go through the very gross technical coding interviews. And then as far as my volunteer role as director for Women Who Code East Bay Network, there was no selection process. The pandemic made everything just kind of dead in the East Bay network. And when I moved up here to the Bay Area, I wanted to find more women that were in tech, and I was working remotely as a software engineer, didn't know anybody. That's when I went on Bubble BFF, and then I looked for the Women Who Code network because I saw there were a lot of meetups, at least in previous years. And they just said that, oh, there's nobody leading the network. Would you like to lead it? And yeah, here I am. And Keely just joined, what is it? Maybe a few weeks ago now?
More or
And
less 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, and she's already organizing events, and I'm so happy to have help. It's been like 6 months of by myself with the network, so yay!
Yoo-hoo.
So now, just for background, I'll go into a little bit more on each of these moments in my life. Specifically, the internship, the job, the first data analytics job, and the first software job. So fun fact, my PI, principal investigator at the internship lab that I had interned at, she took me out for ramen and kind of just shared parts of herself and asked if I wanted to be, she had said a biomedical engineer, but just like she put that into my head, and without her just having that conversation with me, I don't know if I'd be an engineer today. So thank you, Dr. Hendricks. So as far as the internship goes, so I worked at a Parkinson's disease lab. We worked with monkeys, and as I said, there was a networking event where I think he has a PhD now. So Dr. Campbell, that's the McAllister alumni that I met at the networking event. And without that networking event, I would not have even known about this internship opportunity. And so the way that process went was I met Dr. Campbell at the networking event, and then I went home and prepared my resume, prepared my cover letter, and hand delivered the letter during the interview. And at some point, they made the decision that, yeah, sounds like she could try data management. Even though my major was neuroscience, I had taken a statistics class here and there. But besides that, didn't really have any knowledge of data management besides using Excel. But I was so happy that I burst into tears when I got the phone call. And just so you know, when I got my first data analytics job after college, I did not know the main language that was being used, which was SQL or SQL, which is how you interact with databases in kind of the back end. And this is a copy of the email. I shortened it a little bit, but it's okay if you can't really see it. But basically, just so you know, like this is what I had to do to kind of land that first interview with this company, the startup that I ended up working at. I just cold emailed the CTO, and he responded, which was great. So again, this is me reaching out to people and meeting people to land these opportunities. And fun fact, I did end up jumping around a little bit, just kind of trying to find my footing. I did, so I had that job at the healthcare tech startup, and then decided I want to try something different. Went into casino marketing analytics for the Princess Cruises cruise line, and then ended up going to Farmers Insurance. So big company, but it was great because it gave me a lot of exposure to different technologies and ultimately helped me land my first software engineering role as far as expanding my skill sets and preparing me. So the final example I wanted to share was how I ended up landing my first software engineering role. So this is a shortened version of the chat that I had with my former coworker, who here is Wheatley Fluffytail. And basically, you can understand it was me reaching out. I saw that they had the hiring badge on their LinkedIn, and we had worked together before. So even though we were on different teams, I still felt more comfortable reaching out to them simply because we had worked together at the same company. And luckily, they were really welcoming, and they ended up passing my profile to their team, and it ended up being a fit. And about 2.5 years later, that's where I am now. Apart from layoffs, but that's a different story. And also, I wanted to mention, because a lot of people don't know, but you can actually get money from your company for referring people. So when you're asking people for requests, like for a job or something, like it's not really a burden to them because they're gonna actually get money. Like I did that a few times over my career. I would refer people that I had worked with for current roles at my company, and I'd get $500, $1,000. And people have done the same for, well, I don't know if my first job if they got a referral or not. But hopefully they did. So in summary, you got to network to get work. And now I'll leave some time for questions. I do see some people.
We have a question regarding that. Is were there an interview?
Was there an interview for which one?
The software engineer. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so I kind of glossed over it, but so let me go back. So yeah, we had this conversation over LinkedIn, and then they passed my resume to their team, and we ended up actually rescheduling a meeting 2 or 3 times. But it ended up working out, and I think I had maybe one meeting with a few different people on the team, and just kind of like exploring like the kind of skills that I had. Like it wasn't really too technical, like because I had already worked with somebody on the team, so they trusted me and didn't really have to prove myself very much.
So like there was no like coding challenge type of thing, just
No.
more like your compatibility with the company.
Right. And they kind of took me at my word for like what skill set I was comfortable with. Like I had already done 3 years of data analytics, so I was able to kind of speak about my experience querying with SQL, and that I had used Python as well to automate reports. But yeah, I didn't need to do a gross coding interview, which was very nice.
So when you started at that job, like what did you like? Did you have to learn a lot, or was it kind of like you were able to use your skills to kind of do like start off?
Yeah. So I ended up actually doing kind of a little bit of a transition into the actual software engineering work. So they didn't have a full-time data person on their team. So I ended up kind of building out their kind of dashboarding for the customer support team, which at the time that I joined did not exist because they were a startup of, I don't know, 15 people. So the engineers were rotating for customer support, and I ended up just kind of volunteering to be this whole customer support person until we could hire what ended up being my friend who I got a referral for. Um, so yeah, networking. And I don't think I finished. Well, can you repeat your question again?
Well, yeah, my question just was like, yeah, like what kind of like things did you have to learn like when you actually started the job? Because I'm at a place where I'm like looking for my first job in tech, and I related to that a lot earlier too, that I actually literally went through a whole computer science degree and still do not know what I necessarily enjoy working in. Like cuz like yes, I've done projects in here and there, this language, that language, but I still don't know like, oh, like what's really my passion or what will get me super excited.
Which I
On
think
a big
is okay. Yeah. Like even now I'm still learning new skills. Like because I came with a data background, I was more suited for kind of back-end focused work. But by the time that I left that job, I was actually implementing front-end components. And that was just something that I had picked up on the job. And normally I guess how we did it on our team was there was a list of bugs that you could kind of just like pick from when you had time. So if I finished a project and there was some time left until the next sprint was starting, then I could grab like an easy front end ticket and try and solve it and kind of learn new skills and uh, without so much pressure because it wasn't a big feature. It was just some tiny bug that a customer had reported.
Can I ask you a question too? Okay. Is it like a general consensus? And I mean, I think it's like that in most jobs. Like, it's better for you to network, right, to get a job. But is that like really like it happens a lot more in tech, than other fields, or is it like you could also land the typical you apply, without knowing anybody?
Well, so yeah, I glossed over the two data analytics jobs I had between my first and my first software role. And both of those, I didn't know anybody. I had just applied cold. And that's kind of where statistics comes in. I still don't know exactly what's the best way. Like networking is probably the most effective just because like as I was saying, like the referrals are a big part of like hiring in a lot of teams, just because like you have that trust factor. At the same time, like when I was interviewing at Princess Cruises, I don't remember where I saw the job, or maybe I think I knew about the cruise line and I just like randomly checked their career page and saw that they had a job that looked like a good fit. And it turns out I think they were having trouble hiring. So um, it was like a very niche, like casino marketing analyst. And it's just like so niche that um, like there weren't a lot of people applying.
Okay,
So
thank you.
a mixture of both.
We have
I also have a question that's kind of relating to what they just asked. What is some advice you would give on networking and how to approach that? I always find that when there's like networking events in person or things, I oftentimes tend to avoid them because I don't know how I would go about navigating that space, like that first introduction or navigating a conversation with people. That isn't like too straightforward or it doesn't seem like I'm being disingenuous.
Right. So um, I just did a kind of workshop with LinkedIn direct messaging. And basically it's kind of like if you don't know the person and um, you don't know them at all and you're trying to message them on LinkedIn, like first you have to like build a relationship first. Like you can't just like flat out ask for a job because that would be disingenuous and as you said. Um, so kind of like asking them, how do you like working there? And I saw on your profile you've been working at so and so company for 3 years. What's uh, what what has made you stay for so long? So that kind of thing.
Thank you. And then also another question was, what do you think is one of the most difficult things for a beginner and that they have to tackle? Or is one of the more common difficulties for beginners?
For me, Alfonsina, maybe you want to answer too after.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question. What was it?
What's
Um,
the, oh, go ahead.
oh, it was, what do you think the most difficult thing a beginner in tech has to tackle, or something that you guys have observed as a common difficulty for beginners in tech?
Oh, I believe it depends, like so many things in tech. It depends on what area are you in tech. I mean, is it front-end coding, back-end coding, data? It
Yeah,
depends.
so I'm mostly I've been introduced to front-end development, and I've been really considering back-end as of recently, but I feel like back-end is really intimidating, just because I feel like it's kind of a vague general description, where front end is more tangible as a concept.
Yeah, I totally get you on that because I was the same. I was really scared of back-end development. But yeah, I see what you mean. I think that's front-end development. It's actually I'm not gonna say easier to do, but it's easier to get into. So maybe that's why so many people, including me, choose to study front-end development first. In front-end development, but I mean, if you're going through that area, so to speak, through that way, study a lot CSS and JavaScript, of course, but I mean, if a front-end developer can do CSS, they're not really a front-end developer because our role is to make the site look good. So tackle CSS, tackle making layouts, responsiveness, that sort of thing. And then in JavaScript, try stuff, build projects. Like I said, you could try that course that I mentioned, 30 days of JavaScript. I'll share the link in a bit. Um, because that's the best way to learn. What happened to me was exactly that. That I mean, I studied JavaScript, I understood it, kinda, but I didn't know how to get that to a website. I mean, I understood variables, loops, conditionals, all of that, but I didn't know how to use that on a web page. So if you're going to front end again, try to do projects. Well, this applies to backend as well, but do projects, and that's the best way to hone your skills, to perfect them, to get better at coding. I mean, the best way to get better at coding is coding. But not only follow a course, try to code something yourself. Maybe you can start doing these guided projects like the ones on the course I mentioned, but then try to do something on your own, anything, because that's when you're gonna face issues that, I don't know, maybe you say, oh, I want to make this part of the page animated, uh, I don't know, anything, and you don't know how to do that. Then you research and try to do it, and when you learn how to do it, trust me, you're not gonna forget about it. And if you do, you know that it's possible, so you can just Google it and make it again. So I don't really have something that to say like, yeah, you should tackle that. I mean, the thing that you should tackle is build things, code. Have an idea and try to code it. And if you don't have an idea, there are sites like, I don't remember the name, Front End Mentor, I think.
Yes,
Right?
that's
Yeah.
several
Thank you.
challenges.
Thank you. There's that page. If you could share it there, Pillippa, that would be great on the chat.
Yeah.
The link. Where if you don't have any idea on what to build, because that happened to me as well, there's this page and others like it that give you these ideas and give you the resources to build things. So you can choose any of the projects there and try to build it yourself. They don't guide you. They just give you the resource, the images, the mock-up, etc. And then you have to try to do it yourself. That's the best way that you can get better.
I'd like to add to like what was difficult for me as a beginner was learning when to ask for help, especially like when I had my first job and like my first job ever after graduating. I would often spend hours just trying to debug something and figure out why I was getting an error. And ultimately, I probably should have just kind of spent maybe an hour at the most before going to one of my coworkers and asking for help. But the tricky thing there is with startups, you might not have people to ask. So you're kind of like, it just depends on your work environment too. I also wanted to share really quickly something that was super helpful for me when I was having my first software engineering role ever. There's this pocket guide to debugging by Julia Evans, and it just kind of breaks down your toolkit in a very nice way. It's a comic. And yeah, I highly recommend. This is an example. And yeah, it makes coding very approachable. And also like the little doodles have a curly hair person, which I appreciate.
Awesome. We have a other comment from Luga. Let me see. It's a comment. I was thinking that was a question. Well, thank you.
I just wanted to add something about what Lianna said about not having no one to ask things sometimes at work. That's what communities are for. So maybe you don't have. It happened to me when I started on this company, that I was like the only front end on my team here in Latin America. So when I had doubts, I didn't really have anyone to ask to. So I tried doing research, but if I couldn't find the answer, then I tried asking on communities, and that really helped a lot as well. So Joy, Women Who Code, and every other community you find out there.
Yeah, the Woman Who Codes Slack is actually really great. There's a Python group, there's a front end group, and people are very nice. And let me see if I can get the invite and put it in the chat.
I will share my screen. Yes. I want to say thank you, Lianna. Thank you, Alfonsina, for your insights.